I put up a poll asking you guys whose powers you guys would like to see Naruto wield, and with overwhelming support, you guys ended up going with Yami, obviously. So now we're here. But before I start, I just want to say that if you guys go on to enjoy the movie, then to leave a like because it will help the series out tremendously. But with all that out of the way, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
We start a story with Naruto's upbringing. Now this time around, everything's pretty much going to be remaining the same up until the age of 4 years old for Naruto. When Naruto's 4 years old, obviously he pretty much gets moved out of the Kage Tower with Hiruzen, and he ends up having to start living on his own. And when he does this, he pretty much ends up learning that he's gonna have to grow up relatively fast because of how everybody begins to treat him. He realizes quite quickly that not a lot of people like him, and he realizes that he's not really going to be having a lot of friends. He decides that instead of wanting to earn everybody's respect, he'll just demand it by being so strong that they'll have to treat him with respect. And if they don't, well then they can just S his D. Anyways, but regardless of that, he doesn't really want to become Kage because of that, and he just kind of wants to become powerful so that nobody really wants to mess with him. And so what he ends up doing for his early years is pretty much just training his physical abilities. Naruto would realize that when he's growing up, he is a lot stronger than all of the other people around his age, and he's not sure why, but part of it is because he has the Nine Tails Jinchuriki inside of him, and also because he is the reincarnation of Yami. Not to mention, this version of Naruto has dark black hair with blue eyes. I just think that's a really dope combination, and I figured that we might as well throw it into the series just cause why not. Anyways though, regardless of that, Naruto would grow up and enjoy becoming stronger and developing his strength over the years. He realizes from an early age that because he has no access to chakra, he has to pretty much just train on his physical strength, and so would learn to carry a sword. He would begin to pretty much bluntly swing the sword around, and it would be a wooden one at first, which he would simply train with and just kind of whack around, trying to pretty much learn how to use it the best that he can. But it wouldn't really work too well, just seeing as he has no real guidance and no training. So he decides one day to go over to Hiruzen and demand him to teach him how to use the sword. Hiruzen is like, kid, I'm busy, like I can't teach you right now. And he's like, well, you better do something because I need to get strong. Everybody treats me like garbage. And Hiruzen is like, fine, right? And so, you know, he has like one of the little Anbu people like basically just show him how to wield sword, and he pretty much gives him a book just teaching him, all right, here are the basic movements, read through this. And Naruto literally stabs into the book and he's like, I'm not reading that, bro. And he like throws it away. But as he's leaving, he realizes that, you know what, maybe that book's not so bad. So he grabs the book and he ends up taking it with him and pretty much just practicing his swings and things along those lines. Eventually though, years would pass and he would find himself being a 13-year-old young, teenager, right? And because he's 13 years old, he pretty much just continues with his training, trying to get himself to be far more powerful than he would be originally. And also one more thing, the academy won't start until they're 12. So, he's in the academy, but it's like it doesn't end until they're 16. Just because I really want to age these characters up for the specific series, and I think that it would work well in terms of, the age that he's going to end up finding a grimoire at, right? But regardless of that, he would pretty much be about 13 years old, and this would be after class, right? In class, he kind of has this reputation of just kind of keeping to himself and only talking to people who respect him, right? He kind of respects people that are powerful, so he does respect Sasuke since he's still stronger than him, just because Sasuke has ninjutsu and he has had way longer to train in order to defeat Itachi, just because of the fact that it's still what ended up happening, and he would be a lot stronger because he has those extra years to train. He's not so strong to the point where it's broken, but he definitely is around the same strength level of Chunin exam Sasuke, after the 1 month training. So all the characters in this version are going to be a lot stronger. Like even Kakashi and Zabuza and like all the villains that we're going to be encountering, all of them are going to be a lot stronger just due to the nature of the what if and how I aged everybody up. But you know, it's really not going to be making that much of a difference in terms of the grand scheme of things. But regardless though, they're all 13, and you know, at this point we pretty much just have Naruto essentially go into the Forest of Death after a humiliating loss to Sasuke, with him thinking that he either gets stronger or he dies trying. And walking into the Forest of Death, he pretty much decides to take out as many rabid beasts as he possibly can. And so he does that and pretty much just goes in there hunting wild and random beasts. Eventually, he ends up chasing one off and he ends up walking into a tavern, like a little bit of a shack. When he sees this shack, he's like, I wonder what is this place doing here? Like, I've never noticed this, right? He's already noticed the Chunin tower thingy-majigger, but he's never noticed this before, right? And so he looks at it and he's like, I mean, won't really hurt to try to check it out. So he pretty much ends up going inside of there. And when he does, the entire place is so dusty that it just gives him an allergy attack, right? But dude just proceeds to essentially blow out of his nose and his hand and just starts coughing maniacally, right? Like he starts coughing everywhere, but eventually he sees this like strange book and it has like 3-leaf clover on top of it, and he just sees it. It's like so dusty looking, right? And he goes over to like try to open it and like see what's inside, but as he does so, he pretty much notices that the book begins to like float up into the air and it lights up as if magic or something like that, right? And he pretty much looks at this book and it begins to just flip through all of the pages like rapidly, right? As all of the dust that it had on it pretty much just blows away, and he's able to just see this dope looking grimoire thing that he doesn't know what exactly it is yet, but he looks at the first page, and when he does, he ends up seeing something strange that he never would have expected ever, because it's like, who would realistically expect something like this? Though what would end up happening is basically once this happens, he begins reading through it and sees the names of defensive and offensive attacks floating around. And when he sees like the book, he's like, what? But he pretty much ends up like continuing to read through it, and he sees all the extra moves that Yami would have developed before his apparent death in the Black Clover series, which still hasn't happened, but it will possibly someday, right? And he sees a lot of attacks, and one of them actually ends up catching his eye, and it's called Dark Cloak the Vita Slash. And pretty much he grabs his blade and he realizes it's a slash attack, so he grabs his sword, right? And he immediately tries to use the attack. When he does this like sword just gets coated in this like dark black like substance magic, and he like cuts through the shack, completely destroying it. As Naruto is just standing there as half of the shack pretty much just got cut by his entire attack, and he notices that the shack above him is gonna collapse. So what does he do? He pretty much ends up like being like, what do I do? But it's at this moment that he would end up realizing that he could probably do something about it. So he ends up just reading through really quickly, like in the span of an instant, and being like, Black Cocoon! As this darkness orb just forms around him as the shed collapses, and he would be just fine underneath it. After this, he would just be completely shocked, like completely just like, what is going on? But it's at this moment that he realizes that this is literally what he needed to get ahead of Sasuke, to get ahead of everybody else who has not acknowledged him yet. And so he pretty much just begins to train on his mana control and realizes over time, over the course of a couple of years, that he never had chakra, at least not in the normal sense. Maybe his powers are different. And so he trains and gets powerful very quickly, picking up on Yami's powers extremely fast, because he has the grimoire with all the attacks and powers that are making it very easy for him to perform. And with his just determined nature to surpass his limits, he would continue learning and learning these attacks, almost as if life was on recruit difficulty for him ever since he found the grimoire. Editing Xehther here. I completely forgot to put in the sponsor of the video, so here it is. As anime fans, we love to show our support to our favorite shows by rocking anime apparel. But something I'm pretty sure we can all agree on is it's so expensive. So I've partnered up with Fandom to bring you all affordable, high quality anime merch that you are sure to love. And if you use my code Xehther at checkout, you can even get an extra 10% off the already affordable merch. Keep in mind, it does come from overseas sellers, so its sizing is going to be different since it's overseas. That said, let's get back into the video. And this dude would continue to train, just getting completely overpowered, as he realizes that some of the spells don't drain as much mana as others. And obviously that would be all the high level stuff that he just kind of unlocked in the Black Clover series. And another attack that would drain him greatly would be the Dark Dimension Slash, right? It would be that attack specifically. That's one of the ones that is able to definitely get a lot of his energy out of himself. Now, the one that would do the most would be the Dark Cloak Dimension Slash Equinox, because that one's like a more powerful version that would just drain him completely practically. So his mana levels are low, but he is very, very powerful for his age and for what he's going to be needing to be in terms of the universe that he's now currently a part of. What ends up happening is pretty much over the course of the next 3 years, he ends up essentially establishing himself within the classroom and his peers, and people begin to take notice of the strange nature of that book that he always carries around with him, right? This book would always float, and people would think that it's some sort of strange magic trick or like he's using his chakra for that. But what would end up happening is that he would be pretty much the strongest person in the classroom after having faced Sasuke and defeating him very, very easily, right? He would have defeated him the second time due to the fact that Sasuke would have been able to defeat him the first, just due to the nature of the fact that he, even though his attacks are powerful, they are very slow. Or not exactly slow, but you know, Sasuke would be able to get out of the way. And this would teach Naruto to try to be a little faster. And so with a little bit more practice, he would be able to finally tag Sasuke with his attacks and make it so that he would finally be able to defeat him in battle. And the way that he would do so would pretty much just be by using the back blunt part of his sword, and he would use Black Blade Blunt Sweep, right, to pretty much just defeat the dude and just hit him with that one simple attack, making it so that it would be a relatively easy attack to just like hit him with, right? But regardless of that, we end up pretty much just having Naruto continue with his training, and eventually all the rookies would be picked on their Genin squads. Now, the Genin squads happen very stereotypically, and by that I mean like it would obviously be Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata. Why am I putting Hinata on the team, you guys might ask? Let me explain. Okay, so I'm putting Hinata on the team just because I feel like I'd rather have her on the team and not Sakura. And no, guys, it's not going to be because of some romantic type of thing, because he's not going to end up being with anybody like Hinata or, you know, Sakura or anything like that. And we're not really going to be focusing on the ship, at least for now. Maybe later if I change my mind, but for now, just keep in mind, ship probably not happening. Maybe with Ino or Tamari, but you know, who knows? Okay, no, definitely with one of them actually. But what we're gonna be having happen is Kakashi walks into the class, right? He comes in about an hour or two later, and when he's inside, he immediately looks around. This time around, there's no prank from Naruto, but he just sees some kid with black hair just on the ground, passed out. And we see Sasuke, and we also see Hinata, who's just sitting there twiddling her fingers, just like, you know what I mean? Like, she's just so like completely out of it. And yes, she does have a liking for Naruto just because he did save her when she was a kid, but Naruto doesn't really feel that way back towards her, at least not now. But maybe later something like that might happen. Maybe I might establish some sort of like some sort of group of girls that he might have, but you know, who knows right now though. Regardless though, they are all 16, so Hinata does look exactly like what she does in Shippuden, and you know, she is definitely a lot stronger, and all the characters are pretty much powerful. Everybody at this point is basically at their Shippuden levels of strength. Not really, but like kind of like no, they're not at their Shippuden levels of strength. They're at like weaker. They're weaker, a lot weaker. They're just a little bit stronger just because they got into the academy about 1 year early, so they're all just a tad bit more powerful, but nothing too like crazy where it's like, bro, like they have Shippuden levels of strength. Yeah, nothing like that. They're still like Genin level power, okay? Regardless though, we do have Kakashi coming into the room and just basically telling everybody that, they're finally ready and that they should meet him up on the roof. They would all do so, and all of their goals would pretty much remain the same. Hinata would say she wants to be a powerful kunoichi and make her family proud. Sasuke says what he always says, and Naruto would say that he wants to become so strong that everybody will have to pretty much respect him. And that he's gonna command respect from everybody someday. And Kakashi's like, alright, I kind of respect that. At least he didn't say something dumb like becoming Hokage, right? And Naruto's definitely not thinking anything along those lines, just because that's just not something that he cares about. So none of that happens. But Kakashi does inevitably end up telling the team about the fact that they're going to be needing to meet him for the bell test. And the entire squad is like, alright, cool. I guess we'll meet you at the bell test. And so what pretty much ends up happening after this is we just get a moment where everybody just splits off and eventually meets back with Kakashi the next day. Now, he's still gonna be late, about 2 hours late, but he arrives to Naruto completely passed out. Sasuke just kind of giving him this look of like, bro, why are you so late? And Hinata really not saying anything, but kind of being a little annoyed, but you can't tell just because of the nature of her personality. Regardless though, he would come up with some lame excuse, and eventually he would tell them about the bell test. When he's telling them about the bell test, he would pretty much begin to inform them about how there's only 2 bells and that one of them is going back to the academy. Hinata would be determined to be one of the people who gets the bell because she doesn't want to be on a team without Naruto, and Sasuke wants to move on, and Naruto's kind of like, I have to get stronger, and this is the only way to get stronger. So all of them are just determined, and none of them are even thinking, hey, teamwork, mate. You know what I mean? It's not even occurring to them. So what pretty much ends up happening is as soon as Kakashi begins to count down, Naruto would say, I guess we're gonna have to do this now then, as he begins to pretty much summon his grimoire. And it's at this moment that Naruto would start the battle off with a very, very strange attack pattern. He immediately grabs his katana off of his sheath, and he's wearing like an all black outfit, right? This is usually what he always likes to wear, like a black outfit, and he has like a white undershirt. It's like a white wife beater, right? But he holds it out to Kakashi and says, you might want to try a little bit. As from here, Kakashi's holding a book out and he's like, huh, you say something? And this just rubs Naruto the whole wrong way. So this man proceeds to use his dark magic, dark cloak Vita wild slash, and he just begins to slash at the air in random directions as each slice gets manifested physically, and it's as sharp as a blade. And this darkness just rushes at Kakashi at speeds that Kakashi actually does have to get out of the way for. Now, when Kakashi moves away from that, Naruto would appear right next to him and would pretty much using his speed just rush at him with his katana, coating his blade with darkness as he tries to slash at Kakashi, who would poof into his shadow, as it would be revealed that he used a wood block, as it would be revealed that it's just a substitution. And after this happens, Naruto begins to look around being like, all right, where is he? Where did he go? But he can't exactly find him. So he begins to kind of begin trying to do anything possible. My bad, guys. Sorry. I just need to move my monitor real quick. He begins trying to do anything and everything possibly in his power to try to catch Kakashi off guard. And so he goes in and tries to use the dark cloak, the Vita slash, and he begins pretty much whipping out many of the things in his arsenal. But due to Kakashi having an extra 3 years of training, he would just be a lot faster and actually be able to keep up with Naruto in terms of his attacks that he's shooting at Kakashi. This would lead Naruto to realize that he's not going to be winning this battle the way that he's going, and eventually Kakashi would kind of understand that Naruto's about to go all out. So he begins to essentially formulate a strategy, and what he does is pretty much create 7 shadow clones, with one of them standing behind another one, so it looks like it's only 6. And all of them rush in at Naruto, who begins using slash attacks to pierce and destroy some of them, until eventually he gets to the last one and says child's play, right? And when he pops it, Kakashi comes in right from behind it, moving in synchronized motion as he jumps up into the air and uses a fire style fireball jutsu, going all out with the jutsu as he shoots a gigantic ball of flames at him, which Naruto would counter by using dark magic Dusk, which would create a black hole right in front of his hand that would absorb the entirety of the fireball attack that just got shot at him. And Naruto has a smirk on his face as he realizes that this is finally his time to shine. He would use dark cloaked Avita blunt strike, and it would not work, to say the least. He lands it, but it would be revealed that that's just another shadow clone, and Kakashi would be right behind Naruto, who would be none the wiser as he weaves the ultimate hand signs and just goes, 1,000 years of death! And he pierces up inside of Naruto, you know, getting a little bit of chocolate on his fingers, as Naruto gets sent flying into the sky and is pretty much out of commission as Sasuke rushes in, and he begins to essentially try to fight off Kakashi with taijutsu strikes and, you know, fireball jutsus and things of that nature. And he would be impressive, just not as much as Naruto, because Naruto as of this current moment is a whole lot more powerful than Sasuke and pretty much around the same levels of speed. When it comes to their magic attacks or his chakra attacks, he would be shocked because he's never seen something like this. He would think it's like a Kekkei Genkai or something, but he's not sure because of that book that Naruto always seems to be carrying around with him. It's strange. It's something that he never thought he would have to deal with. It like floats alongside him. That book literally is able to keep up with the speed. It's something that Kakashi notices, but he doesn't really think too much of it though. Eventually, Sasuke does end up getting overwhelmed by Kakashi, and this would leave Hinata to be the only one left who still hasn't came in and attacked. Eventually though, Kakashi would look at Sasuke and tell them all that they failed and tied Naruto and Sasuke up to the post. This is when Hinata would get her moment of shine as she ends up feeding Naruto and Sasuke, as, you know, she feeds Naruto because she likes him, and then she feels bad at the fact that she hears Sasuke's stomach growling, so she's like, all right, eat quickly. And, you know, she gives them both her food and only eats a little bit, so all of them get fed, and Kakashi seeing the smiles behind the bushes thinking that finally, teamwork. And so he comes out and he pretty much ends up revealing to them all that they passed, with every single one of them being completely shocked, thinking that they were just about to fail. Like their hearts sank for a moment, but they realized, yes, we passed, right? And so that's a good thing. But what ends up happening after this is pretty much they go on a bunch of D-rank missions. So pretty much just 2 weeks worth of worthless missions, with Naruto training with his dark magic spells and stuff like that, working on his mana, and also working on a new technique that he has just recently been developing, which is this thing that he's been trying to work on called Mana Zone. And he's been trying to use this to essentially enhance all of his properties and make it so that he's able to keep up with opponents that are a whole lot faster than him, using that ability in and of itself to try to pretty much defeat anybody and anything that pretty much just is able to get in his way. And this is just everything that Naruto's thinking of, and, you know, he begins training on that, and he works very, very, you know, a lot on it, and he's able to pretty much develop a little bit of it, just a little bit, but not really fully get the hang of, you know, using mana to enhance himself or anything like that, right? So, you know, he still continues working on himself, but eventually they would all get called by Hiruzen after completing a mission, and they're all pretty much informed of the fact that they're going to be going on a mission to essentially escort the bridge builder to the land of the waves. Now, all of them immediately accept, and they're all pretty excited about this, but when Tsunade walks in, he immediately begins to be pretty blatantly disrespectful to Team 7, calling them all losers and saying that they're all worthless and whatnot, pretty much just disrespecting the gang, right? And they all don't like it, but the one who likes it the least is Naruto, because his whole goal has always been to gain the respect of people and not be disrespected like he was when he was a kid. So he would let out some of his killing aura to Zabuza, to Tsunade, and this would kind of just let him know, hey, okay, I'm not talking smack no more, I'm just gonna shut up. And so Naruto would be able to just be like, yeah, punk, and, you know, Tsunade is able to just like walk away, and eventually we pretty much just get all of them meeting at the bridge or the gates the very next day. Once they meet, they begin embarking on their journey, and everything kind of happens just like it does in the original, with the demon brothers attacking and Kakashi faking his apparent death. Naruto would definitely be able to realize that that's definitely not his real death, and that Kakashi definitely was playing around somehow with that. And Sasuke comes in, takes out one of the demon brothers, Naruto does as well, and Hinata stands in front of the bridge builder with her gentle fist style activated, just kind of being ready for anything. But, you know, nothing happens, since Sasuke and Naruto are both able to take out each demon brother simultaneously, with Kakashi watching up in the forest, being very proud of his team. The way that they were all instantly able to snap into action and know their roles, he was pretty proud of them. Regardless though, he does still end up interrogating Tazuna, being like, hey yo, like that's kind of sus, like why did they attack us? And what are you not telling us? And Tazuna's just like, nothing, like, hey, I don't know, like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, he's blatantly just kind of refusing to tell them anything in regards of like what really was going down. And so, you know, Kakashi has no real option other than to kind of just accept the fact that Tazuna's not really gonna open his mouth or croak. So he realizes this and is just like, fine, whatever. I guess I'll just have to let that slide then, I guess. And so, you know, he has to pretty much just let Tazuna slide with that. And eventually, after a little bit more traveling, we end up getting the scene where they end up encountering Zabuza. And this happens generally the same like it does in canon. Naruto throws a kunai at a white rabbit, and eventually the mist thickens just enough for Zabuza to appear and pretty much introduce himself to the team, embarking on a battle between himself and Kakashi, and Naruto watching as Zabuza and Kakashi are both in the water, and him just being like, damn, like how do I help, right? And so he gets the perfect idea. He's like, I'm definitely gonna have to help Kakashi out here. And so what he ends up doing is he pretty much ends up using the ability that he never really gets to use options, so something that like he never thought he would have to pull out like this early in one of his battles, but he just has to. And so what he ends up pretty much using is taking his katana out, pointing it towards the direction of Zabuza, and then saying, death thrust, as you know, he begins thrusting in at the air, and these like condensed slashes just come flying at Zabuza at blinding speeds that actually end up piercing him and like nicking him all over, causing Zabuza to have to immediately let go of the water bubble, freeing Kakashi ultimately and destroying all of the shadow clones that Zabuza would have sent out to deal with Team 7. This would lead Kakashi to eventually unveil his Sharingan and defeat Zabuza in a very orderly fashion, with Haku coming in and ultimately using the Senbon needles to essentially take care of their issue. But Naruto, seeing this ninja come in, would not be like sitting there and just let like Haku get away. Naruto's not playing no games. So Naruto looks at him and he's like, dispose of the body here. And a sweat drop falls down the face of Haku as, you know, he looks at Naruto and is like, I can't. And as soon as Naruto hears that, he goes to grab his blade, but Haku immediately grabs the body of, you know, Zabuza and pretty much ends up trying to get out of the way. But Naruto blitzes in front of Haku and is like, you fight us or both, or he dies. And, you know, he's pointing his blade at Zabuza's neck and like the nape of his head. And, you know, like Haku is just like she doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. And so he pretty much ends up saying very well, jumping backwards with Senbon in hand as he throws them at Naruto's direction, and he would pretty much hit all of them with the sword but one that would pierce him in the chest and would kind of make him feel a little bit of pain. But, you know, Sasuke comes flying in being like, Naruto! And, you know, he comes in and he pushes Naruto out of the way. And, you know, he ends up taking a couple Senbon, but then he rushes in and he ends up fighting against, you know, Haku. As Naruto decides to take a step back and let Sasuke handle it, he begins to pretty much analyze the movements of Haku and decides that what he's going to be going on to try is going to be maybe a bit foolish, but he'll do it anyways. Sasuke begins to essentially get outsped by Haku since he's using blinding light speed, and it's at this moment that Naruto would realize that like he's not sure if his attacks are even gonna land. He goes to use a dark cloaked Avita slash and like it doesn't even hit Haku. And it's at this moment that he's like, there's no way. But because it doesn't hit Haku, Haku's able to come in and just send Naruto flying. Like he is sent crashing onto the dirt. Kakashi's looking at him with the Sharingan and he comes in, and because he's drained of chakra, he's not necessarily able to do much. So he immediately pretty much gets taken out of the battle, and Haku is just standing there like pretty much manhandling the entirety of the team. Naruto gets up bleeding from his head and he says that it's now or never, that he has to surpass his limits here. And so Naruto ends up trying to activate that thing that he's been working on, which is pretty much his reinforcement magic, making it so that he's able to have access to mana skin and also having a huge boost to his leg strength, essentially making him move way faster by using his magic to reinforce his body. He's finally able to keep up, and with using his slashed attacks, he's able to finally begin to keep up with Haku in terms of like battle speed. The taijutsu that Haku would be displaying would be something truly impressive and something to behold, but eventually it would get to the point where Haku begins to essentially use his ice crystal mirror attack. Once he traps Naruto inside of it, Sasuke would be watching from the sideline just thinking, I can't let him die. And so he begins like walking over towards that direction, right? And you know, Sasuke like watches as Naruto begins to pretty much like stand there and try to dodge the attacks. And once like it gets to a point where Haku's about to kill him, and Sasuke lunges in the way, and Naruto gets pissed off and he's like, if I would have been stronger, like I would have saved him. And so he gets mad and he's like, I'm done. I'm gonna surpass my limits here and now, as he simply just lets out he lets out dark cloaked dimension slash, as you know, he pretty much ends up slashing right at the ice and the mirror that Haku was currently in, as the blade would just slice down and it would cut Haku inside of the mirror. Haku stayed there like kind of just laughing at the fact that it wouldn't hurt him, but it cut straight through the ice and it like completely cut Haku in half. Like Haku is dead. Like that's all I'm gonna say. Haku's dead, and Sasuke activated his Sharingan like right before he pretty much quote unquote died. But because of this fact, he was able to pretty much be taken by Naruto and back to, you know, Tazuna's house, where they would rest until eventually the team would begin learning water and just tree walking by Kakashi once he heals up, and they would just simply stand by as Tazuna finishes the bridge, and eventually Gato and his men would arrive, realizing that, you know, Zabuza definitely died back in battle, and, you know, both of them definitely lost their lives that day. Like Kakashi was able to extract as much information from their bodies and, you know, put them in a scroll, and he has it with him, but as for the current moment, they are pretty much the only ones there. And Gato would arrive smugly being like, if you know they can't do something right, you gotta do it yourself, right? Just being a complete asshole to everybody. But, you know, Naruto would be like, you can't disrespect ninjas like that. That's like horrible. I'm not gonna let you do that in my presence. Those ninjas were formidable opponents. And, you know, he rushes at Gato and just like clean slash right on his neck. And, you know, Gato is just dead. And after this, he's standing behind all of them as they all look at him and they're like, kill him, right? Like they all let out like charges of like war cries. And Naruto's like, nah. He then uses his Dark Cloak, the Vita Wild Slash, and he's able to pretty much like let out so many strikes that all of them just get cut into pieces. And they all die. And Naruto has blood all over like his face that just splatters. And Team 7 just watches as Naruto just ruthlessly kills them all. And, you know, they look back at him and they're like, do you not like feel remorse for that? And Naruto just says, why would I feel remorse for my enemies, people who don't respect me? And, you know, from here, they're like, fair enough, I guess. But they end up making their way back to the Hidden Leaf Village, where they end up having to meet up with Hiruzen. And what ends up happening here is pretty much we just get this scene where they're all pretty much compensated handsomely for the mission that they just went on. And eventually they are informed of the Chunin exams once they have their little run-in with the Sand siblings that does end up happening in the original. Tamari would look at Naruto and think that the dude actually looks pretty damn handsome. You know, she gets a little bit of the hots for him, if you know what I'm saying. But, you know, obviously she thinks that he looks pretty good. Naruto obviously looks good because, like, bro, the dude is a Chad, bro. The dude is a Chad. And so, you know, he's out here pulling without even trying, right? Just like my boy Yami. He pulled, I think it was like pretty much the baddest girl in the series of Black Clover. And I say that with a grain of salt because it's like, it's an anime character. But anyways, though, he does end up, you know, pulling his, you know, the best looking character arguably in the Black Clover series. So I think that Naruto would definitely be able to have some riz in this version, right? But what ends up happening after this is they all pretty much just get introduced to the Chunin exams, and they all have their little test to happen to them that pretty much just determines whether they're ready or not for the Chunin exams, and all of them pass it with flying colors just because there's really no reason for them not to. So what pretty much ends up happening here is we just get a moment where, you know, Team 7 is doing their absolute best, and, you know, they walk into the arena, or the, you know, the Geni Tower, preparing to take the written portion of the Chunin exams. And once there, they end up running into Neji and his squad, right? Once they do, a boy with very, very bushy eyebrows and a bowl cut comes in, and he challenges Sasuke, being like, hey, you are an Uchiha, you know, just being like, oh, like, fight me. The battle pretty much goes down just like it does in canon. Sasuke tries to use his Sharingan, but because they're still underdeveloped and he's just not fast enough to keep up with a Rock Lee, who is actually going to be a lot stronger. Just because we know from even the original that he was training his body physically just as much as Naruto would have. So, you know, if not more, he would be even faster than Naruto. And, you know, without weights, obviously. But for right now, Naruto would actually be able to keep up with the speed, but Sasuke would be completely outclassed. And, you know, this is just kind of the dynamic where Naruto's definitely the strongest on the squad right now. Like, with his dark magic and his just years and years of training, he's definitely able to keep up with Lee's movement speed with weights on. But as of now, Sasuke just gets bodied, and following this, Rock Lee gets stopped by my guy, as, you know, they cry and they walk away, right? And eventually they go and they take the written portion, which goes just like it does in the original. I mean, there's no real reason for me to change this part of the story, just because nothing would really happen, let's say, if I did change anything. And before I continue going on with the story, I just want to very, very quickly apologize if there has been any squeaking from my chair, like noises and like just from me moving and stuff, or if there has been like barking and dogs and stuff like that in the background. I just want to quickly say, not my fault. You know, neighbor's dog is just going crazy all day, and I can't go over there and try to shut him up because it's like, that's not my dog. So it's like, you know, I can't even be like, hey, shut up, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's definitely a no. And then there was people like leaf blowing outside, so it's like, bro, did you really have to pick the time that I'm recording my video right now? Like, bro, don't do that. But, you know, obviously, you know, things happen. But regardless though, let's jump back into the story. So they would all clear the written portion because it's a very relatively boring with no stakes part of the exam. It's obviously very interesting to watch how everybody has their own unique ways of cheating, but still though, they're all able to pretty much blatantly get past that, and eventually they go into the Forest of Death, where I'm just going to be zooming straight to the part of the Forest of Death part where they actually end up encountering Orochimaru. Why am I doing this, you guys might ask? Well, the reason that I'm doing this is just only because I really, really like this battle between Orochimaru and Team 7, and I think that it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this version of Naruto, whose whole motto is pretty much surpassing his limits, deal with Orochimaru. The way that I see this encounter going down is, you know, Naruto goes off by some bushes, and, you know, he goes to obviously take a leak, and when he's zipping his pants up, this gigantic snake just literally eats him full. And Naruto inside of the mouth of the snake is like, no way, I just got eaten. So instead of using multi-shadow clone jutsu and getting out of there by just blowing it up, instead he's able to use his katana to cut his way out of there and leave a dead husk of a snake behind, as he rushes towards the direction of Team 7, wondering who could have possibly summoned a snake that large. He ends up getting his answer very quickly, as he sees that Orochimaru was just about to lunge at Sasuke with a gigantic snake, and Naruto blitzes in the way and is able to essentially hold the snake back, as Naruto looks at him and screams, "Sasuke, get your damn head in the game!" And Sasuke looks at Naruto and is like, yeah. He instantly activates his Sharingan, and Hinata, who's watching from the sidelines, would be like, oh, I can help too. You know, she rushes in, and all three of them are in a standstill with Orochimaru, who's currently standing on top of a snake, as he's like, very interesting. Don't disappoint me, Sasuke. He licks his lips as he rushes back in and begins to essentially try to use taijutsu attacks to get over the team. But Naruto and Sasuke together pressing Orochimaru would prove to be a bit of a difficulty, with Orochimaru not trying as hard as he possibly could. And with Naruto using his sword, he would be able to pretty much keep Orochimaru at as much of a distance as possible, until eventually he ends up whipping out the Kusanagi blade, and eventually Naruto would decide that he needs to do something fast. So he ends up pretty much using his dark cloaked black blade to extend his sword out as far as possible and try to stab at the direction of Orochimaru, or like slash him, right? But Orochimaru would get cut in half and regurgitate himself. It would just be a disgusting sight to hold. But you know, Sasuke comes in and he shoots 3 fireball styles at him, and Hinata would use a air palm, right, shooting it at Orochimaru, as this time Sakura is not there, so there's a third person actively helping. And once Orochimaru begins to essentially feel pressed slightly, he rushes in at Naruto and slashes right at his chest with the Kusanagi blade, sending Naruto falling straight from the tree since he doesn't have chakra control, and hitting the ground with a thud. Hinata's like, "Naruto-kun!" And you know, she immediately gets sent flying off, like get hits. And after this, we pretty much just get this scene where Sasuke is forced to pretty much fight off against Orochimaru, and Naruto would be on the ground as, you know, he sees this gate in front of him, and it's just the 9-tailed fox, right? And keep in mind, he still hasn't found out about this because he didn't even have that run-in with Mitsuki, because he passed the academy due to just strength. He actually passed, so some other kid tried it and got caught, and Mizuki ended up getting caught. And the reason that I didn't cover it was just because Mizuki's irrelevant. Nobody cares about him. So Naruto seeing the 9-tailed fox behind the gate is like, "What are you doing inside my body?" And the 9-tailed tries to be menacing, but Naruto just gives him like this blank stare and shows respect. Because Naruto always will give respect, like regardless of who you are, for the first time, until you do something to make him think that you don't deserve it. And just because Naruto can tell how powerful this thing is, he decides that he'll respect it regardless, right? So, you know, he goes over and he's like, "Who are you?" And the 9-tailed fox explains that he is the Jinchuriki Kurama, and that, you know, he can give him power to help with this battle. And Naruto's just like, "All right, but what's the price? Like, what am I gonna have to pay for this?" And the 9-tailed fox is like, "You'll see in due time." And Naruto was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna accept something until you tell me." Kurama says, "Just a bit of your sanity." And you know, Naruto's like, "That's it? You got a deal." He immediately snaps back into the real world, and because his body is just physically more powerful than Naruto's is, he's able to instantly tap into the power of the 1-tailed cloak, which would make him be able to blitz up right at the direction of Orochimaru using Mana Zone to have blinding speed, which would cause Orochimaru not to be able to land the bite on Sasuke's neck and blatantly not give him a hickey. And Naruto looks at Orochimaru and is all like, "Not today, Orochimaru." He rushes in, and Orochimaru pretty much like has to play defensive for a bit, being shocked at the strength that this kid is showing. Naruto at this moment is breaking through limits never seen before. And eventually, what would end up happening is, you know, Orochimaru shoots a gigantic attack of snakes at the direction of Naruto, as he uses the ability of, what's it called? Dusk, to essentially absorb these chakra made snakes into himself, into this dark hole. And you know, Orochimaru is shocked that he could absorb jutsu, but eventually Naruto gets enough of this and he pretty much holds his sword out right in front of him as he uses the dark cloak dimension / equinox, as he just slashes right at Orochimaru with blinding speeds, and Orochimaru gets completely cut in half. Like, Orochimaru, quote unquote, dies, but not really, because the dude never really dies. But because of his apparent death, he pretty much is able to just kind of like his body is left there, and eventually Team 7 is like all out of energy. Naruto's out of mana and chakra, and you know Hinata has to pretty much carry them to safety, where they eventually get encountered by the sound squad. And once they do get encountered by that, Sasuke would wake up because he never got hit with the curse mark. So he would be down there, and then Rock Lee, Hinata would pretty much take care of the sound squad all individually, making them have to run away with their tails between their legs, leading to the team pretty much eventually making their way towards the tower. And you know, all of them meeting up inside of the Chunin exams preliminaries. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, all of the preliminary battles are going to be going down. Just like in the original, nothing really is going to be changing here. So Naruto does stomp Kiba just because it's not even a contest. And, Hinata does still get stomped by Neji. And this does piss Naruto off because it's like, yo, like you can't hurt my teammate like that. And I'm not going to let that slide. So he gets pretty mad. And, similar to what happens in Black Clover when, oh my God, that one guy, Yami's Uber, his personal Uber got attacked, and like Asta and like Luck and like all of them got in the way, and like they were threatening. Naruto holds his blade out in front of Neji's neck and he's like, don't you ever dare try to kill my teammate again. And it's like a bunch of Jonin and Naruto down there, and like he was able to keep up with them, mind you, because of just these power boosts that he keeps getting. He keeps surpassing his limits with the battle between Haku, the battle between Orochimaru, a extremely high-ranking ninja, Kage level admittedly. Naruto would definitely be able to keep up with the likes of Asuma Kurenai now. He might as well be a Jonin. So the Chunin exams is going to be blatantly easy for him. But after this encounter happens, they would tell him to go back up to the stands, and Naruto would go back up there, as it would be revealed that he's going to be facing off against Neji for the final battles, right? After this, they would get 1 month of training, and Naruto does end up encountering Jiraiya during this 1 month. He would be in the hot springs just relaxing, and he would notice the old man peeping. Naruto decides to go over there and be like, what you doing, old man? And Jiraiya gets shocked and he's like, oh, kid, you scared me. Naruto's like, oh, sorry about that. As he peeps up and he begins getting a look himself, and he's like, pretty good view, huh? And Jiraiya's like, little bit, you could say that again though. And Naruto's like, yeah, pretty great stuff. But after this, he's like, what are you doing here, old man? And, he begins to pretty much reveal, he's like, my name is Jiraiya. You know what I mean? Like, he begins to reveal that the nature of who he actually is. And Naruto's like, oh, dope, I respect that. Like, so you're one of the legendary Sannin. And Jiraiya's like, yeah, I am. Naruto's like, oh, cool, I fought one of them, I think. Orochimaru, white skin, purple makeup on his face. And Jiraiya's like, and you lived? And Naruto's like, I killed him. And Jiraiya's like, you what? Naruto's like, I cut him in half. Like, I slashed him to pieces. And like Jiraiya's like, bro, what? Like, what? Like, he's just shocked. Because it's like Orochimaru could definitely beat him if he doesn't have Sage Mode activated. After that, it's a little bit of a different story. But still, like it's just crazy to Jiraiya that this kid is even saying something like that. He laughs it off, and immediately Naruto's like, oh, I'm not joking, dude. Like, I'm dead serious. Sorry, guys. I had to adjust my chair. My back started hurting from just the position that I was in. I honestly might end up just wrapping this what if up tomorrow, but I'm actually really enjoying this one. So I think I'm just going to push through and record like the last 30 to 20 minutes of this what if. Or maybe 40 minutes. Depends on really how I'm feeling. But what ends up happening after this is essentially Naruto goes on a train with Jiraiya. And because he doesn't actually have access to, Kurama, he's not exactly able to even teach Naruto things like the Rasengan or the summoning jutsu. And instead, they kind of just focus on Naruto's swordsman skills and also kind of just his taijutsu abilities, which Jiraiya would train him in. And, Jiraiya would just be shocked at the fact that Naruto quite literally doesn't have any chakra paths. Like, normally somebody with no chakra in their system would die. But the only reason that Naruto is able to like blatantly be alive and like live and like kind of have a little bit of chakra in his blood is just due to the fact of the nine-tailed fox. But his chakra levels are so low that like if he was to use chakra, he could like use like basically no jutsus at all. Like, he has chakra in his life, but it's like the chakra levels of like a villager, right? Like people who can't have access to chakra naturally. And because of that, what pretty much ends up happening is Jiraiya believes him. And, he trains for the month, and eventually we get the battle between Neji and Naruto. But Naruto's not playing no games. Like, he's blatantly just so pissed off at Neji for what he did to Hinata that he doesn't even like stop to think about anything whatsoever. And Naruto starts the battle off by like just looking at Kakashi and telling the people that like are anywhere near Neji to back up like now, because like anybody who's near Neji, they might die. And you know, Naruto was getting pretty much ready to use the dimension slash, but Kakashi just nods his head no, and he's like, don't do it. So Naruto has to pretty much change his approach, and he has to end up using the Dark Cloak, the Vita Blunt Strike, so that he's able to blitz behind Neji and bam, right at the back of the neck, making him get completely knocked out in just one fell swoop. After this, we get the battle between Sasuke and Gaara, and he has pretty much the same powers that he would in the original minus the curse mark, so you know, he's good on that. And what pretty much ends up happening here is everything in the original. When I say that, I literally mean like Gaara going off and Hiruzen's death. But actually, no, literally, hold on. Let me think. By the way, guys, I am genuinely sorry about the chair movement. Like, it even annoys me, but like, I just have a really loud chair. I'm thinking of investing in like a quieter chair that doesn't make noise at the slightest movement. But it's pretty hard because I have to stay perfectly still while I'm recording to give you guys the crisp sounding quality without any like background noise of like me just like shifting my weight even slightest bit. So, you know, it's kind of difficult. Not only that, but it kind of does strain my back because I have to like keep my back perfectly straight during the recording, if not a little curved. But yeah. Regardless though, the little attack on the village is not going to happen. And I'll tell you guys why right now. Okay, so the reason why it's not going to happen yet or at all is because Naruto, he killed the Orochimaru, right? He killed them and he's not there to pretty much do the operation. So the Sand Village is kind of just like having to let Gaara run away. And the only battle that happens is Sasuke versus Gaara. Naruto chases after, and the Sand siblings are pretty much taken care of by Naruto himself, with him using the Dark Cloak, the Vita Slash, to pretty much end those battles very, very easily, outspeeding them, using his mana to pretty much tank attacks, and eventually getting to the point where he was able to finally see Gaara. Once he sees Gaara and Sasuke fighting, he watches just to see what Sasuke would do, and eventually he realizes that Sasuke, he's not going to be able to keep up with this. So what does he do? Naruto pretty much decides that he's going to have to do the only thing that he knows, surpass his limits and use a Dark Cloak Dimension Slash. He uses it and it ends up pretty much cutting through Gaara, not completely, but like very, very like high damage, and making it so that, you know, he gets taken out before he even gets to his Shukaku state. The Sand siblings arrive and they take Gaara away, leading Gaara to, instead of becoming Kage this time, because like Naruto's not there caring about like, oh, like I want you to be better. No, like he does not care about Gaara whatsoever. So Gaara remains evil. And so later in the future, when he gets kidnapped, like the village is not really going to go help them because like he's not a Kage this time around. He's just like this out of control Jinchuriki that just kills people and honestly just scares his own village. So they might even like that more. But regardless, because Sasuke doesn't get the curse mark in this version, a lot of things are actually prevented. And by that, I mean like him going towards Orochimaru, he's never seen the power of the curse mark and he's never experienced it. So when the Sound 4 offer that to him, he is just like, nah, like I don't want it. And because of the fact that, you know, like he doesn't want it, he doesn't go there. And when Itachi infiltrates the village and fights off people, you know, everybody just kind of is like, Naruto's not here. Because he and Jiraiya, they didn't go off to find Tsunade. No, they didn't do that. But actually, you know what? Let's say they do. Let's say that they do go after Tsunade and, you know, they try and it kind of goes just like it does in the original, except he doesn't learn the Rasengan, like I said. And instead, you know, the battle between Itachi and Kisame kind of ends up going down just like it does in the original. See, Naruto was able to be in between the presence of two very powerful shinobi. And so what he ends up doing is essentially trying his best to escape. He runs down the hallway and Itachi would pretty much like be behind him with Kisame being in front of him. And Naruto just being like, get out of my way. Dark Cloak, the Vita Slash. Kisame takes his sword out and he's like, get that out of here. You know, he like slashes at the air himself and it completely like ends up canceling it out. And, Kisame is like, powerful, powerful indeed. Naruto looks at the direction of Itachi, then back at Kisame, and he's like, there's only one thing I could do right now. And I don't really know if this will hold off long enough. But he ends up using the black cocoon and shooting off a powerful attack, alerting Jiraiya. And Itachi and Kisame would just like look at this, like not knowing what it is. And, eventually Kisame gets tired of waiting and stabs his blade into it, as it actually doesn't stab in because it's not made of chakra. So the blade's not able to just eat through it. And Naruto is safe for a bit until Jiraiya arrives and uses his toad mouth jutsu and is able to pretty much scare them off, quote unquote, but not really. Itachi just wanted to do a tactical retreat because he didn't want to fight Jiraiya. And using the Amaterasu, they're able to escape the area, with Sasuke arriving barely late to just catch a glimpse of Itachi and be like, I was late, damn it. But Naruto would say, you'll get your chance later, and them eventually going after Tsunade, with Sasuke tagging along just because he's already there. And, they do end up countering Tsunade, and Jiraiya is like, hey, Tsunade, we need you back in the village. Like, the old man is getting way too old for this job, and he doesn't really have too much time left. We need a new Kage. Tsunade gets disrespectful, and Naruto, like, he is immediately looking at her, and he's like, one thing you're not about to do is disrespect my Hokage. Like, I don't care who you think you are, but you're not about to disrespect Hiruzen. Although it might have not been the best person for me, he helped me and paid for everything that I needed while I was growing up, even if it wasn't that much. And he's like, I have to show at least a little respect for the old man. And, he pretty much looks at Tsunade and he challenges her outside. And she looks at him and she makes a bet saying that if he wins, she'll become Kage. And if he loses, he has to give her all of his money and pay off a bunch of her debts. And Naruto says that that's a dumb bet and that he would of course take it. And so, he looks right at Tsunade and he's like, fine then, guess I'm going all out. And so he pretty much ends up looking at the direction of Tsunade, and he uses a move that he hasn't used whatsoever for the entire series yet. He ends up using the dark cloaked EI slash. I'm not sure. EI slash, I think. I'm not caught up with the manga. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. But he uses the dark cloaked EI slash, right? And he just like bam, like he slashes at Tsunade, just blitzing, like literally anime swordsman stuff. He walks past and just psk, like the slash is seen, and Tsunade just like pretty much gets like completely just taken out. Like Tsunade just falls to the ground and needs to be immediately healed by Shizune, who does heal her. And eventually Tsunade ends up having to go back to the village, becoming Kage, with a time skip still happening, and Naruto going off to train with Jiraiya. And once he returns to the village, Naruto that is, he pretty much comes back with around the same power level that Yami has in the manga, however powerful that realistically is. 3 more years of training, Naruto would learn a lot more things, and his mana levels would just increase to a level never seen before, making it so that he has just a lot of an easier time facing off against any and all opponents that he has to face off against. And it's just generally a great situation for him to be in. The problem of the Akatsuki is still going to be a looming threat after the 3 years, and so we still do end up having Asuma's death, with Naruto actually going with Sasuke to face off against his brother Itachi. The battle between Sasuke and Itachi goes down just like it does in the original, and when it comes to Naruto not being let pass by Kisame, Naruto just begins to walk away before grabbing his blade, and Kisame smiling, saying, I guess I get to fight too. And Naruto just is like, alright, you're dead, as, he immediately taps into his full power. Like, he's not playing no games right now. And Kisame just has to stand there and look at Naruto, as even one of his most basic attacks is able to just completely destroy Samehada and cut Kisame straight in half. He uses the dark cloaked black blade to just blitz at him and just bam, like slash at Kisame, completely cutting him in half and making it so that Naruto just won that battle so easily. Following this, being able to go after Sasuke after his apparent victory over Itachi, with Sasuke just not knowing how to process everything that just happened, and Obito teleporting into the area to try to get a hold of Sasuke and bring him in and make him join the Akatsuki. Naruto, watching all of this go down, would look at Obito and try to slash at him, but he realizes that it's as if it went right through him. And Naruto looks at Obito and is like, "You're not getting a hold of him." He immediately stands in front of Sasuke again, and Obito laughs, just thinking that like this kid has no way of touching him. Like he's just gonna take him out quickly. So Obito decides to just use a full-on like just destruction move to just like get rid of him for now, like just knock him out, because they can't capture him quite yet. Like he wants to just get him out, like knock him out, right? And so what he ends up doing here is just like kind of charging up like a very like detrimental attack for Naruto, with Naruto essentially using the dark cloaked dimension, dimension / equinox, making it so that he pretty much just rips through the portal pocket dimension that Obito gets into, and like actually is able to deal damage to Obito. The cool thing with the dimension slash is that because he's able to go through that, he's able to actually cut Obito. And for the first time, Obito, while he's blitzing at Naruto, would actually get cut, like blatantly just killed. And when he gets cut, Obito is like he gets cut in half, right? But by using Izanagi, he would be able to come back to life and just be completely shocked at the fact that Naruto was able to do that to him. But Naruto would not play no games and come right back in with another dark cloaked dimension slash that would just pierce Obito and kill him, like blatantly just kill Obito. And I think this is awesome just because like even from the very beginning, I always wanted to have this scene where Naruto takes out the big bad just with so much overwhelming power after having surpassed his limits for 3 straight years, training with Jiraiya hard like never before. With the looming threat of the Akatsuki over his head, I believe that this is a very real possibility, and I personally just love to have the series end with a bang, like with Naruto just defeating Obito in just such a cool way, and him carrying Sasuke in his back, taking him to the Leaf Village, and Sasuke getting Itachi's eyes and unlocking the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan after his vision goes away, because Pain would still attack and Naruto and Sasuke are the only ones there to defeat him. And because they're both there, they would be able to defeat Pain. And because Naruto doesn't have the Talk no Jutsu this time, people are actually going to be dying, but only like villagers and stuff like that. So not like Kakashi or anything like that. But regardless of the fact, that, ladies and gentlemen, is where What If Naruto Was Yami's Reincarnation is gonna be wrapping up. If you guys enjoyed the What If, definitely consider slapping the like button and sharing the video with a friend. Also guys, make sure to check out the channel membership because you guys get access to so many perks like priority replies to your comments and even access to this video way earlier than you guys would have gotten it, because it's already going to be out now for the members before you guys would have even gotten access to this. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, it has been your boy Xehther and I am out. Peace out.